Take one of these and pass it.
I just wonder what the building about solar. All that incentives. This is still viable.
What's happening?
Very good.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the
Your one shot and everything else. I'm also right here, so if I actually make it
That's why, so I need to know if it's just a solve. We're ready.
yeah, probably get right.
Sorry.
So that'll be cool. Every 5 years.
I just.
Shelby's on figured out. Stare last too long. 10 seconds. I did the
How are you?
Good, you?
Good.
A little too warm for comfort.
Yeah.
Shall we?
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I got 1, 2, 3 in this one.
And 2 in this one.
Two packets.
Yeah. One's from Jonathan, one's from Jason.
For a change, I had to show it. For a change. This. So I was occupied on the list of photographs. The legal property. And
Huh?
too much.
This point.
It's just a change.
Did you bring this in, Councilman?
I brought the single sheet,
Lynn County?
yes, and Jason, you're providing the coverage.
Yeah, the changes there in blue. I said I was going to work out some definitions. So it's not the whole thing, it's just the stuff in blue.
Was there an extra one of those floating around here somewhere? I printed them off for myself. Thank you.
Jason, did you pull these additional definitions from the particular source? And
Is that?
did you pull the additional
Yeah, so
definitions from a particular source?
just from several different sources. So, if you want me to go through them? I can. You want me to go through them now?
Yeah.
Okay.
While we're here.
So number 12, it's just the solar module we were talking about. It's basically a solar panel. So that's the actual panel. And then you have, it's the same type of thing that I was talking about. I'm just trying to get it right. Then you have a solar array, which is a group of panels. On large utility scale, you have a solar clock, which should be tied into an inverter. And the definition of what an inverter is, definition of what a voltage meter is, definition of what a solar tracker is, and then the definition of what a glare study analysis is.
So are you making a motion needs to be added?
Yes, I can. I make a motion to be added, but I want everybody to be able to read it first and understand what this is. And I did cross off the original definition for the fourth page.
So your motion is to delete existing definitions and substitute those that are in blue on pages 2 and 3 of the handout.
Yes.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Or are you just deleting number 20?
Yeah.
Is that the only deletion?
Yes. That's the only strikeout. Everything else is the same. The only changes are in blue.
Is there a second? Been moved and second. Time for discussion. If any. Anybody ready to vote? Simply call for the question. That's the appropriate next step.
Questions?
I'm sorry.
Call for the question.
Call for the question. Then if somebody else has something else to discuss, they should bring it up. If nothing else is brought up, we vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any other motions?
The other handout you have is a one-page handout. There was a discussion.
One page?
Yes, there's a single page handout.
Thought that was 2 pages. I got through the same thing.
I'll take the extra.
Okay.
I'll take the extra.
For contracts, especially for those that weren't here 2 weeks ago, the last work session, I've gone up to, as I think I mentioned before, to Lake County, Iowa. There is it's around 100 acres or so solar facility industrial facility there. So I met with the Ben County planning and zoning people, so obviously they have their own regulations that you would expect. So parts, the first 4 paragraphs here, 7D, and then obviously 7D, 1, 2, and 3, that is for the most part their language, with some modifications of my own, which I'll get to here in a second. 4 and 5, I'm sorry, 5 and 6, I'm sorry, I left my copy with the proposed regulations at home, so I don't have access, unless you can pull that to this section within our page on page 7 or 8. It's
What do you like?
no, it's section. Here we go. Okay. Clarify the numbers 5 and 6. 5 and 6 on this sheet are a direct pull from our existing language. Okay? So basically what I did is I took Lynn County language and then added our 5 and 6 into that. Let's go back to the first paragraph on the Lynn County one. So the Lynn County language, which is in black, I'm suggesting, if for discussion here and clarification, there'll be a motion in a little bit, but not yet. First, I'm going to show you what this is. But I think it would be helpful to clarify a few things that are not in the Lynn County language and may not exactly be in ours either. Clarify that this applies, the sound decibel levels apply to both C6 and L6. And then the Lynn County language stopped with, as far as the list of activities that would be exempt from this decibel level, whatever level the planning board decides upon. I thought it was important to add a few additional situations. Removal, which is the second grouping, removal or replacement of facility equipment, or overburden, decommissioning, and reclamation of the solar project area, which I would assume would involve some heavy machinery and some other things, which is obviously not daily operation of the system, but since Lynn County included, with the exception of the initial construction, I thought, for discussion purposes, we should also include the end of life of the facility and reclamation of the solar project area, which is defined later in our proposed rules. So I'm suggesting, so I'm going to bring those text together, which is not in the Lynn County language. There was discussion at the last meeting about our current decibel level is just a flat limit. There's no time. It's not just a flat limit. It's not spread out over the average over X period of time.
Is this leading up to a motion?
Yes.
So the proper procedure is to make the motion, and then if somebody seconds it, we discuss it. That's the appropriate procedure.
We can do that. I just wanted to
Let's do it.
So the motion would be, hold on just a second. Kate, would you do that to the current version? I believe we are two-part motion. Okay, that is, which, okay, that's section 12, what's the overriding, it's section 12 of what? Yeah, but it should be like a
Section 3.
section 3. Okay, thank you. Section 3. Part 12. We could go back to the proposed. So, remember our original noise level, the county commission gave to us in the original document was 60 through the entire day. If we modify our numbers to these, this will be a lowering both of the daytime and the nighttime antibody definition. So I would move that we remove the existing section 3, part 12, and substitute this section, this entire page, as written.
Second.
Been moved and seconded.
Question.
We'll do a discussion next. Moved and seconded. That modifications outlined by Jonathan Wimer be adopted. Any discussion?
I'd like to know more about number 1. The last sentence talks about, just so I understand, it says that the ambient sound pressure level exceeds 55 during the day or 50 at night. The standard shall be the ambient LEQ plus 5 dBA. What is that referring to?
That's just what, I'm not certain, that's what the Ben County resident, that's how they define it, the standard increase speed, dBA, somehow it's not.
I think LEQ is the equivalent continuous sound pressure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the if it exceeds 55, the standard shall be ambient plus 5. I'm not sure what that.
I think what it means is they test, and if it tests at 40, then the standard would be 45. I believe that's it. But it couldn't exceed the limits that they've already established.
I would have a different read, that if it exceeds the 55 or the 50, then there's an alternate, then they test a second level. That's one read for that, the way they word it. If they test and it exceeds the 55 during the day or the 50 at night, then there's a second standard that's applied. Which is then.
So you're saying you think this could raise the standard? That's what you're saying.
That's,
If it tested 60, it would go up to 65. I don't believe that's a correct interpretation.
Would it be if the normal sounds of the environment was higher than that level, that would make the standard?
That's what I originally thought when I first read it, but then.
I don't have a problem with making the changes, but I think we need to have that clarified. We can always come back and, you know.
Well, I wouldn't want that in there myself, because we're going to set a standard that we want everybody to abide by. We're not going to let them.
Well, but
Yeah,
what if there's highway traffic or normal road traffic that exceeds that, then that's what they're saying. If the ambient, I would like some clarification, I guess.
Yeah. We keep like the word ambient.
That it's the normal noise level in that particular area may be higher than 55.
Without any solar stuff running or anything like that. is what
Right.
you're saying.
That's what I would say.
That's what I originally thought when I first read it, but it's really not referring to that being part of the baseline.
I'd be, if the commission would like, I'd do that. I mean, we can go to vote now, but I'd do that.
But if we base it, because trucks are making noise going up and down the highway, we're allowing all of the noise from that facility, wherever it is, to exceed the limit. Whether or not that ambient noise is on the far side of the array. I think this says the sound level of the array.
But it's also saying at one particular place, a measurement of occupied dwelling. So if it's louder at that person's house, they still have to go over and test at another person's house.
Sure.
And then if it's not louder there, then it would fall into 50, 55 and 50. So it wouldn't be a broad, everywhere it could be louder.
Well, but if you change it, it's going to apply everywhere. It doesn't say if it's ambient at a certain residence or a certain side of it. It doesn't define it. It simply says if the ambient is higher, then the standard is higher. Now maybe there's some wording that somebody can come up with.
Is that not at that occupied dwelling?
Huh?
Is that not from that occupied dwelling?
That's what it says. Yeah.
So that if at your house, you're reading 55, and at my house, I'm reading 65, that doesn't mean your standard raises, that means mine does.
We're talking about the array, not our homes.
But it's the noise level at your home, at the occupied dwelling.
Well,
So if there's normal noise, before the solar panel goes up, if there's normal noise that's above that level, you can't require that to be under that because they've never needed it. Because there's normal noise that's above that.
but then it should say prior to the
It
installation.
should be part of that baseline. Number two, then. Well, what if it means, I'm reading this, what if it came back at 55 dB and they're saying if it exceeds it, the standard shall be plus the 5. So they're saying it's going to read 60 if it reads at 56.
They're saying that's the max. It's
No.
60.
The max is 55.
But if it reads at 55 just regular, then plus 5 is 60, that's the max it can be with the solar, is the way that I interpret that.
Yeah, see, so it's kind of a weird sentence there.
If the board would like, I can go back to Lynn County and ask for clarification on that last sentence before we.
I mean, or we could just strike that sentence, too.
Ambiguity is to be defined. Start with that sentence.
We can always, nothing's set in stone. I mean, we're putting this forward, and then
Yeah,
in a month, we can come back and say, all right, now we know what this is, let's change this.
okay.
That's all.
Well, but paragraph 3 makes it clear. Noise levels to be tested, and it has to comply with the standard. That doesn't indicate it can be changed.
Yeah, I think is what they're trying to say, now that I'm wondering, is that if it goes over the levels, they're going to round it up plus 5. So if it comes back to 62, it's going to come out at 65. Say it's 65. Maybe that's it, just they're rounding it up to the 5. As it's reported. They come back and say it's 61, and they're going to log it in as 65.
I guess I'd like a clarification. I don't want to vote on something that I don't know. You know, I'm guessing at.
Me too.
What
I'm saying what?
why don't I,
We have more meetings, so we can always put it in later.
I think, procedurally, I think I'll go ahead and withdraw my motion, and I will, we need a second for that.
Well, there hasn't been a motion to add this.
He's withdrawn, he made a motion. He's withdrawn.
Yeah, the rest of the motion already.
Was it second or second?
Yes.
Yeah, seconded. So, I'm going to withdraw my motion, and then before our next work session, I will call Lynn County and get more information about, especially that last sentence that I didn't know.
Yeah, what
I think it'll be open to all of us.
And on real quick on that, just, we're replacing 12, but then you're coming back at 7. Is
Right,
that-
yeah, that number needs to be.
Okay,
changed
that's
back to
just-
12.
okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Because then you use it 42, and then use it 42, so you just say.
Under the section 4. Three, that's the site plan here somewhere, where it's the application process. I'd like to make a motion to add the requirement of a glare study analysis.
Of what?
Glint glare study analysis. And yeah, I'll pull that up. Google that if you want, see what that is, but it's basically
That's in your definitions, isn't it?
yes, the definitions. That should probably be required to use third party. I can print that out next time. I should write that in there. Probably get the wording down. So I write out the speaker part. So never mind. I'll write that out for you next time. I was thinking about putting it as part of the application process.
Well, somewhere back in the beginning, we have all of the studies that are required. Would that go in
We could put it there.
there?
I think it should have a little bit more teeth. Let's see what the requirement. Based on the public comments.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like,
We're talking the studies on page 4. That heading says that the commission, county official, employee shall consider the following in addressing the application. So they should consider these things, but like it's a requirement as part of the process.
Well, each one of those things are required.
Must be required later on.
You know, in order to apply for the permit, those studies need to be done. Report from DWP, NRCS, watershed district, road and bridge,
Where does it say that?
on page 4.
Where is it? I'm not seeing where they say that these are required. Does it say that on page 4? It says it shall be considered.
I guess interpreted that as required. But if you don't read it that way, then we can change that.
I think we should change the word consider to require.
The whole required.
I guess the way I thought it was intended was those are the kinds of studies that we were going to require in order to file the permit. And, you know, if KDWP comes back and says one thing, the commission doesn't have to abide by that study. I mean, they can take the study and do what they wish with it. But the study is required. It's like layer analysis, you can require it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Section 4 talks about application and required documents. Additional public notice. Site plan. Recorded easements, existing property lines. Location on wells, existing buildings. Boundaries. Vegetation. Soil map. Residential structures. Critical habitat. And it talks about all the things that need to be part of the site plan.
We all read that, so what you think?
Well, if you look at the way that the document is structured, section 4 talks about the following additional notices, documents, applications, and materials are required as part of the application submittal. Okay?
It have to be supplied.
That's not that section. And that's what we're talking about, two separate things. These things are, the commission shall consider the following. This isn't, you know how documents work. You go on a permit, you got to require to submit certain studies or certain things, you know. And that's it. That's section 4.
That's what's required.
Section 4, not that.
I understand.
So that's why I was wanting to put it in section 4, but I'll write it out. And I think that maybe it needs to be, if there's the
So you're saying
impression,
you want to add all of that to section?
well, it just came to mind, it came up, that maybe some of this does need to be added to that. If we're under the impression it's required, but the document's not saying that, you can find what the document's saying, I'm all fine with it. But
I think, and I agree with you in the beginning, those were kind of descriptions of what it was they were. I mean, maybe not complete. It needs to be where you're talking as well.
And maybe some of these things aren't part of the initial permit. But it's part of the, there's certain things that are required to get the permit, to apply for the permit. You have to do these things in order to even apply. And then maybe there's other things where it's, you know, it's, I don't know. I need to look to this section more, I guess, to see.
Well, the word shall is mandatory.
They shall consider it.
That means they have to.
The planning commission has to consider it. That's a lot different than it's required before you put a permit.
That is
in the
required.
application.
Shall is a required word.
Shall
Shall
consider.
means you must do it.
That's talking to the county.
Okay.
That's not talking to the person that's doing the permit. That's saying that the county shall consider these things.
Right.
Okay, I'm talking about the developer shall perform this analysis as part of their permit application. That's what I'm trying to say. There's two different things there.
Well, shall means they have to present all of these.
It's not talking about the developer, it's talking about the commission.
Well, somebody has to supply those things to the commission so they can consider it. It doesn't require the commission to go out and do these things on the road.
It needs to be in both places. It's the easy way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be clear. And when that needs to be done, right?
Would you be willing to rewrite section 4 with those things on page 4?
I can work that up, yeah. Oh, it is in there. Okay, I just need to go through and make sure that they're in those.
This thing has to be airtight.
Yeah.
I'd like to drop back to 7D. Been going over it and over it. But I think paragraph 1 says is, prior to the installation, there's going to be sound level determined. That's what number 2 says. And if the ambient noise, in your position, if there's truck noise, then the standard would be that ambient level +5. But it would be the standard for the entire.
No, that's measured at the occupied dwelling.
Hmm?
That's measured at
Right,
the
that's
occupied
right.
dwelling.
That's correct.
The way I read it.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it says.
So each occupied dwelling will have a different reading, but they will all be
The
compliant.
baseline. will
Well,
be
existing residential structure. So. I think that's what.
What's the advantage of raising? I mean, if the highway is louder than what the inverters are, I think you would.
Right, but that's saying that the continuous noise is higher than that, but we're holding a requirement that can't be met because the ambient noise is higher.
Just because it's louder than the regulations, the max is still 5 over. It can't, like once the solar panels go in, it still can't exceed this. I mean, that's how I.
If that dwelling happened to be next to a sawmill that ran 85 dB all day long, well, they'd never be able to, I'm not saying that. As a reference. Well, right, but they would never be able to meet that requirement because the ambient noise is higher. So that would mean that the inverters couldn't go above.
It has to be a better way of saying it. That's why I kind of agree with Dick. It's like changing it for the whole thing. It doesn't say that. We're going to come back to this.
Yeah, Jonathan's
I thought he was going to work on it.
Yeah, it's good.
Before this language, these guys, this
Section 4.
that language there that I'm reading to say that everything following that is required
Yes.
that they submit
Yes.
to the planning commission and obviously
Yes.
What is our motion for us now? Your motion?
no. I just want to make sure that he,
Section 4.
and that's the way I'm reading
Everything after in section 4 is required
it. Right.
for application.
So you're going to draft something that adds more requirements through 4.
Yes.
Correct.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Is there anything in here about bonds for decommissioning?
Yes.
14, page 23, I was just looking at it, because that's topic on discuss. I don't know if it's, there's anything in here that says, this says, I mean, it talks all about requiring a bond for decommission. But what if they let the lease expire and don't decommission it, and they give the equipment to the landowner? That means it's not who pays to clean it up. Are they gonna have funds? Presumably, that would be like this contract, presumably they would, but unless the company walk away from it by letting it go back to the landowner. And they're not responsible for cleanup. Not a thing. I mean, that, it's gotta be airtight in there that no matter what. But if they let if the lease expires, and then it just.
Well, Roman numeral number 9 says the county has the money to do it themselves. The county will have access to those funds to do it themselves.
Right.
So that's covered.
And I mean, I think it talks in here about how long the life of the project is, but if the life of the project is 30 years, and I mean, it's in there somewhere.
Well, it says if the site is abandoned, then the county can take those funds and apply them.
Right.
So, no matter how long the lease is, if the property is abandoned, then the county can go forward.
But there's other things too, right? You gotta think like another developer buys it. Right? It's sort of
Look, if it's sold, the county still has the law.
we just need to make sure that that's the way
The developer has to give the bond to the county or a line of credit, one of the other.
Still not, if this is the way of the future, why they would ever tear it down.
Just like Jeff, just, it's not a quote, but a nuclear plant.
So it's coming.
So it's coming. So, yeah. You know, like solar panels, not good. I don't like to go to a nuclear plant. I thought that was one of the best things of this whole regulations of the commission was that it means some decommissioning. I'm sure they've got some skin in the game. So, I just read about that. I think it's that. If you're willing to look at that. Now, yeah, I didn't try to look for where they said they were going to ban it. I didn't ever read it.
It's not.
But that's why we got this decommission,
That's,
because they know they've got skin in the game.
the whole thing of it is to let the land set for future generations. So they can go back on later. That's the selling point. So that means that it's coming back out.
I was imagining that just like the oil wells right now. There was no decommissioning back then, and this place is good for the oil wells. There's no money to get now. That's what I was. Got the intent. So what happens with the money in 30 years? It just keeps going and they keep that in the second balance. It's the end of the decommission from that number in. Let me stop talking because I didn't bring my book and it's killing me.
Well, if they were to sell it or lease it to someone else, the decommissioning would be when they're finished. Once it's not operable, it will be decommissioned, either by the owner operator or by the county. Now, I haven't seen the lease, but if the lease is a 30-year period, then you're either going to have to negotiate a new lease or we're going to have to decommission.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Just thinking about oil wells. Thinking about oil wells, and then one came fracking, all of a sudden a lot of those wells are still good.
Ben's the only one young enough that will still be here in 30 years.
Well, I didn't.
Sure, I think.
Yeah, thanks.
Not even sure I want to.
I don't
Where this world is going.
There's some people in the audience who still been here in 30 years. Since it's including everything.
Any other matters? Right for discussion tonight? Or do I get some extra beauty sleep, which I barely need?
Well, I guess I should bring it up. Just, is there any chance we're going to change the residential standoff? That is from the company that's interested in putting in the solar panel. They complain about how quarter-mile setbacks, setbacks. Is there any way we're going to go back and address the setbacks and try to lower them to make the land more usable for the landowners that are under this contract, possible contract. If you didn't read that, it was interesting how they said that there's also landowner rights that they should also have to take into account. And that if you take, it's taking land away from the landowners. I've already been hashed over it a couple of times, and so I bring it up again.
Landowners are going to be compensated by the police.
Yeah.
The more acres they take, the more the landowners will make.
Yeah, but that's why I have to write that in there.
Huh?
Exactly. Yeah. It is what it is. It's mentioned that.
If they think they're going to have to pay too much for it, they go to another side or abandon it, or the other.
Why don't you just make a motion, change it?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we lower the setbacks
To what?
to 300 feet like recommended.
Or a second to the motion?
I'll make a motion to lower the setbacks to 500 feet.
A second.
I'd second that.
Discussion?
Page 9B. Specifically. Page 9B specifically.
Yeah, I'd say, just my opinion, just in general discussion, you brought up the people from NextEra, said that we're not writing these for NextEra, that's,
Yes.
you know,
But
so,
they highlighted it when we talked about the
We're gonna highlight everything that goes against their interests, and that's gonna be.
And then the question is, at this point, do we want to leave as much land for the landowner? Ask the first. The landowner continue, if we change it to 500 feet,
That's not what it's about.
well, that is the question.
They're gonna want at least as many acres as they can.
But some of the
2,000 max.
No, but if they have 80 acres, they're not gonna, they want at least as many as they can.
But our concern was maintaining agriculture. So by leaving more land with the landowner, we leave more land in agriculture.
Right.
That's
Which
one way to look
is
at
a larger setback.
I'm sorry.
Which is a larger setback.
Well, the standard, Douglas County went 500, I mean, it seems to be that that's kind of based on where other people are putting in their regulations, and that's kind of where I'm at. We don't need to get
The
it.
commissioners gave us originally 1,000 feet. We moved it up. I'm not in favor of going below that. That's just me.
Additional information for those that weren't here 2 weeks ago. Besides what Douglas County at 500, Lake County, Iowa, originally, they've done 2 sets of regulations. Their original regulations were 150 feet. They then modified those in a second edition a bit later. So their setback is 300.
They're also,
Just one
that
justification for
1,000 feet was also from an existing residence. That was not from the property. So they're a minimum of 300 feet from any existing non-participation property. So where there already is written 300 feet, that 1320 that we wrote in was from a residence. And what this is intended, in my opinion, to do is push this into a less residential area.
Any further discussion?
I mean, we can talk about it more if you want. I mean, let's talk about the 300 feet. That's from an existing non-participating property. Fees, that doesn't say anything about participating. So, you're saying that if I got a farm and I want to put solar on it, I can't have anything 13 to 20 in my own house.
No. Unless this lesser setback is agreed to by the property owners. You can put it in writing, but you can have it right up to your fence. But that's from,
Okay, so that's fine, so why is I even there then? Because you're trying to capture the non-participating property owner. That's what I'm in B for the most part, right? You're saying non-participating 1320. But then I says 300 feet from an existing non-participating property line.
right, that's,
So-
the 1320 is from a residence, the 300 is from the property owner.
Okay, so let's say you got a property line.
If there's no house on that piece of property, then it's 300 feet. If there's a house there, it's,
So like if there's two corner sections here, the fence line is the property line, 300 feet.
So you got somebody that
There's
has
no
a property.
house on,
You got somebody with a house that is within a quarter mile of the property line, you can't go up to the property. Right?
from an existing residence. I mean, if my house is right here, and the property line's here, and my house is here, and you own this, you can't build within, at current writing 1320, or 1,000 is what was recommended. But that means 1,000 feet away from this house is as close to the panel zone. If there's no house here, you can go up to 300 feet
To the property line.
to the property line. Meaning if my property over here I want to preserve for deer hunting or whatever, and it's the property rights thing, but that setback moves it away far enough away that I can still enjoy all of my property.
And your neighbors. And that's the other problem. It's the neighbors.
But you can agree to, I agree to this.
Yeah.
It's just giving you guys a can for something.
That's what we'd ask if we wanted to do this.
We got a motion out there.
Yeah, so as I understand, the motion is modified 1,360 to 500. Is that correct?
1320.
1320. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed.
I would support a motion to return to the original numbers of 1,000 feet.
Is there a second?
Second that.
We moved and seconded, item modified from 1320 to 1,000. Discussion?
The substitute, return the language to and B, and subpart two, I think was, change that 1320 back to 1,000 in both cases. That should be measured, from the dwelling.
Any further discussion?
I is highlighted, what was that before? Has that always been there? Something like that.
1,000 was the original. We
In the high, or it's below, it's the sub, the highlighted 300 feet. It's highlighted for some reason.
Well, I think that was an issue we had in development. I think all the highlighters, things that hadn't been developed.
Yellow is what we
What we
had.
changed, what we added.
So if somebody wanted to closer, put it closer. I guess I look at the whole document, you know, if there's a sticking point, the board's gonna change it.
Oh,
So, I mean,
And just like you said 2,000 is the max, well, it says right in here, unless it
right, of
makes
course,
sense to
of
have-
course. Of course, I'm sure that the commissioners can change whatever they want, there's,
that's,
but this is the guideline, right,
Yeah.
the standard.
it's what we came up with, whatever they wanna do with it.
Sure.
In order for them to make the deal, if they have to change it to 300, they may change it.
Amen.
But or if we don't get a document, they can go ahead and do it by contract.
then they'll have to split
If
it
there
up.
aren't any of these provisions in existence, they can do whatever they want to. You get tired of waiting on us. Yes? they
Right,
can.
oh, yeah, I'm-
Yeah, that's completely added in. That was
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Sounds like the motion, either on motion
Call for
or
division,
order.
call for division of houses.
Motion.
Division of the house. Division.
Show of hands. All in favor say aye. All, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed, fails. Motion fails.
Motion fails.
I believe.
Ben Howard.
Wait a second, we're
Oh,
gonna.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think you've got a great idea. I think I'll join you.
See you.
Thank you for leading the pack.
Motion again. Again.
You'll have to have a form.
I make a motion to change it back to 1,000.
There's a second.
It's a work session, so there's no form or any of that.
Okay,
Second motion.
move to second. Discussion. All in favor, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. Whoa. Motion fails. Their pleasure, gentlemen.
These are
Thank
like, pins gathered from somewhere, some of them. Yeah. You didn't